Auth66, day 29, I think. Return of the necklace. I actually lost this recently again, and thankfully it was found for me. Much appreciated. Felt weird not having it when I did my last talk, but sometimes you just have to deal. Very grateful to have found it though, and to have it given to me, I should say. So today I have a bit of an interesting topic that kind of, to me, goes along a little bit with what I was talking about yesterday. I was having a conversation where there's a couple of terms I'm going to use that I've used recently, so maybe I'll do more of an explanation later, but for right now I think they're pretty easily translatable, so if you don't understand them or you don't understand the context of them, then maybe say something, but if you get it, then no need to make further videos about it. So like, if you have a home that you want to renovate, an existing home, you need somebody to come in and do demolition on it. And more often than not, the person who is doing the demo is not necessarily the person or the entire team that's working on rebuilding. Demo is something that, you can see some people being really good at. And it might seem like there doesn't need to be a lot of care, but there actually does, because there might be things that you want to keep. There might be structural things that you can't completely take out. And this team is very skilled at going in and being able to go, okay, we need to take out these pieces for what's going to happen. We need to make sure not to touch this piece to make sure that we don't have a house fall down on us. Sometimes though, they just take a backhoe and they wreck the whole thing. I think then you have to think about the flip side of that, which is, the people who come in after that, who look at that empty shell and go, okay, I know what we have to do, and then have to make the adjustments for all the things that they couldn't see before, right? The plan that you have might not stay the same the whole way through because, you didn't know that there was this kind of piping, or you didn't realize there was this kind of insulation, whatever the analogy needs to make sense. And, that requires flexibility, that requires people who can kind of adjust and be flexible on the fly, and who maybe are a little bit more like big thinkers that way. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this was because I was having a conversation with someone where we were talking about how, operations is such a mystical thing in some ways. I mean, I'm sure that everybody could look at the commonalities in job descriptions. Sorry, my voice is still not 100% there. I'm going to clear my throat a lot. Commonalities in job descriptions and be like, okay, these things are for sure operations, but there's a lot of things that are exactly how I just described that last one, being able to adjust and be flexible on the fly. Be flexible in your mindset, be flexible in your problem solving, adjust for the team that you have, for the skill sets that you have around you. And I kind of wanted to talk about it because that mysticism around operations and what makes somebody good at operations, is, I don't know, it's a bit of a puzzle, right? Because I think you'd argue that the person who's good at the demolition and who can be careful about how they pull things apart, that they're a form of operations. But I think that skill set, left unchecked in an operations environment could be quite destructive too, because that's only one part of the equation, right? So I've seen people come in and be like, we have to do this whole thing. We have to do it my way. And, we have to reinvent the wheel. Now, if there's no structure there, then yeah, okay, dream. But if there's a structure there, we don't need a backhoe. We need to observe. We need to look at what's working. We need to be able to be objective. And, I think there's probably a lot of us in the MSP space who've seen people who come into high-level, C-level positions at some of our clients, and the immediate thing they want to do is like, I want to put my stamp on things. But I think effective people might want to take a minute and breathe and look at what is working before they worry about their own stamp, their own way of doing things, or their own thoughts, ego, objective. It's got to be about, you know, to that whole idea of the greater good. It's got to be about what's going to work best for what you have in front of you. And if you don't know what you have in front of you, if you haven't seen the behavior of the team in front of you, and I don't mean the way they perform in like the first week when you start somewhere new, then it's really hard to get a beat on, you know, what it is that you're dealing with. So you almost have to like watch and observe how they perform, you know, their habits. Are they the type of person who complains a lot and then, you know, uses that complaint or that, you know, feeling as validation to not do another part of their job or not change part of their world? And I think, you know, change is scary, right? So like keeping that in mind is important. And so like, I know I'm wandering on a bunch of different things here. So part of it is like what makes up someone who's effective in operations and how can we keep them accountable? But also it's like kind of what is the difference between recognizing someone that's good at demoing, critiquing, tearing things apart versus someone who's good at building things. And I think you need both to be in operations. But I think honestly the building might be the most important part, because it's very easy to be critical. It's very easy to find holes, right? It's what do you do with those holes? How do you fill the gaps? How do you adjust that not only allows, you know, for the problem to be fixed, but for growth and change and thriving, and having the foresight to see, you know, 17 steps in advance what's important for that greater good versus just what feeds you specifically. I think that lesson isn't just important in operations. I think it's important in life, right? If we, you know, go through a conflict and we objectively always look at it like somebody's out to get us or did something to us, then that's how you respond, right? Like it's personal. We had in one of our L10 meetings internally, a really great video that was shared about not taking things personally. And I know it's a great video, not because I watched it, but because the feedback from my staff who were in that meeting was fantastic. And they helped them reframe some things about, you know, when things go sideways, it's not always about you, or when you don't get what you want, it's not a punishment, it's just an alignment. And if you were looking for a reason why you didn't get what you want, maybe there's a lesson to learn, but it's not like, you know, the world conspired against you. And you might not like the answers to why something didn't happen a certain way. Just like the person might not like that there's certain kinds of piping in the house that shouldn't be there, or they're wrapped in asbestos and they now have to replace everything. So like, take a minute, be upset. But you can't change that you have to do that. You can't change that that's what's in front of you and what you have to deal with. And I think that flexibility of understanding that sometimes we just, you know, have a minute, we process our feelings, and then we go, okay, if I can't change that, what can I do to turn this into something not necessarily positive, because I don't believe in toxic positivity, but productive, something that can help me help the greater good, help things move along in a better way. And I think as I say these things, I need you to understand, I am not saying that I do these things perfectly, much like I said the other day. This is a work in progress for me. But I think it's important if I say it out loud and I talk about the mindset required, then it's almost like a way to hold myself accountable, right? Because I want to be that operations person that does both things and does them well. I think that I am in most scenarios and cases, but I mean, I think the accountability piece, especially when you're in the C-suite, is really just reminding yourself what your role is and who you report to. And it's not necessarily the CEO, it's honestly the people that report to you, and making sure that they have what they need to be able to do their role and their job effectively. So yeah, that's my Friday thoughts before we head out for the weekend. Hope everybody has, in Canada, it's Canada Day, so hopefully everybody has a good long weekend if you have one, and if you're American or from another part of the world that doesn't celebrate this weekend, sucks to be you, but you guys in the US get Independence Day, I think is what it is, next week, so you'll be laughing at us then too. Anyway, see you guys tomorrow.